Do you mind telling listeners your journey from atheism to the most influential rabbi in the country?
So I will, although it's not so dramatic in a certain way. My father was a rabbi, and a wonderful man and a wonderful rabbi, and very broad-minded and thoughtful. And I was raised in a home in which my oldest brother is a developmental biologist, and my second brother is the head of the ethics center at Emory and is a sociologist of medicine. So I was never, my background was never restricted. I never wasn't exposed to the larger world of ideas. And what happened was that as I got older, I realized that, I read more about Russell's life, for example, and he was married multiple times and had endless affairs and was estranged from his children and really had not a very enviable life in a lot of ways. He also didn't have an enviable background. He was orphaned when he was young and raised by very strict religious grandparents. So his hostility to religion is understandable in a certain way. But I started to realize that I had grown up with this stereotype that, apart from my father, I thought religious people were weak. They need a crutch. That's why they're religious. And really, if you're strong and you can face the world, then you do that. And as I got older, I realized that some of the strongest people I knew were religious. And that one thing had no correspondence necessarily with the other. And that there was more to the world than my limited view. And the arrogance of feeling like I figured this all out and it can't be greater than I assumed was just that. It was arrogance. And that opened me emotionally, which I think is the bigger issue, not so much intellectually, but emotionally, to re-explore my tradition. And when I did, I discovered how it continually grappled with the deepest issues of life in a way that I found meaningful and helpful, and that the people who taught there. I went to the University of Pennsylvania, and I spent a year also in Scotland at the University of Edinburgh for college. And then when I went to rabbinical school, what struck me was that the professors in rabbinical school, they lived what they taught. It wasn't like an English professor who teaches, Middlemarch and then leaves the classroom. And Middlemarch is not how they live. Mm-hmm. It's just what they teach.
Right.
But I was attracted to this seamlessness of, I'm going to live what I teach and I'm going to teach what I live.
The teacher is the lesson kind of thing.
Yes, exactly so. And so I met people who were, I thought, really as smart, as strong, as everything as the other professors that I met, but that took their teaching much more seriously in a deep sense, because this was also their life. And that, I thought, to live that way would be a good way to live. And while it hasn't always been the easiest way to live, sometimes it is. It's been, I think, a very satisfying way to live. And you never, one of the things about being a rabbi that is incredibly gratifying and wonderful is, if everything I taught is wrong and I'm completely full of it when it comes to all this religious stuff that I believe in, that I teach, I still know that I've sat with people on their deathbed. I've listened to people's confessions. I've talked to people about their marriages and their fears. I've done funerals. I've married people. In other words, I've had the opportunity to be at significant moments in people's lives, and that matters. So I know that the kind of life I led is life that had meaning. And I'm not sure that we can ask for more than that.
Yeah, making it into the invitation list for those moments in people's lives, that's pretty that says a lot right
It's
there.
huge. It's huge, and it's because I'm a rabbi. It's not because I'm David. It's because a rabbi being there is important at this moment and that moment of life, and the flips, not exactly the flip side, but the I'm almost tempted to say the price you pay for this is that you always are who you are, that you can't escape the role. Like when you see the lawyer in the supermarket, you don't go, oh, there is the lawyer. You go, oh, there's Jim.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see the rabbi in the supermarket, there's the rabbi in the supermarket.
Right. So
that sometimes you wish you could shed that and say, just David. But you can't really do that. And that's the flip side of it. But that's part of the role.